How's it going, guys? Xander, welcome back. Where were you last week?
I had a nasty case of the sniffles, and in this trying time, or unprecedented time, as it were, you don't want to take any risks. You got to get your full 8 hours of sleep. And, when you're not at your best, you're just not at your best. So you better for the team if you didn't show up.
Well, I think I really am learning what your best is because last week was probably our best episode and you weren't there. So thank you. You're right. You not being here was a lot better. Congratulations. You are now the second most popular Alex we have on our roster. That being said, I'm going to sit you out again right now. We're just going to keep this non-Xander train rolling because we got an interview with my new friend Terry from Nordic Stadiums. Nordic Stadiums, my favorite account on Instagram. So many just cool photos of different soccer stadiums around the Scandinavian countries and around Europe. Really awesome guy, really interesting conversation. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, joining us now is the man behind my favorite account on Instagram. You can check out Nordic Stadiums on Instagram, YouTube, and nordicstadiums.com. Terry from Nordic Stadiums joins us today. Terry, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
How's quarantine been for you?
Oh, it's special times in Norway as well. So fortunately, we're not that hard hit as you are over in the US, but it's been a lot of work at home, and also the social distancing thing going on. So very little interaction with people, no sports on. So yeah, very special situation at the moment.
I'm really excited to have you on. I love Nordic Stadiums. I've been following for a while. I even got my Faroe Islands kit on just for the
Cool.
occasion. So let's just get right into it. You said you are from Norway, and so I just want to know, how did Nordic Stadiums come to be? How long have you been a football fan, and did you have any specific club you loved growing up as well?
Yeah, what can I say? Always been interested in football. So watched a lot of football, played football when I was younger, obviously. But as the years went on, I started to get more and more interested in football stadiums and also like fan bases around Europe. And I started to ground hop a little bit. Past through 2 and 3 years, I've been seeing a lot of matches, especially in the Nordics. Also, I travel a little bit further sometimes to watch some larger matches down in Europe, especially the derbies I'm very fond of. But no, the idea behind Nordic stadiums is pretty much I love traveling, and I love traveling in the Nordics. So it's a little bit special because it's like dark and cold up here, but the nature is fantastic. And I've been traveling a lot in northern Norway, and then I think it was like 5 years ago, I went to the Faroe Islands for the first time, which was a incredible place. So I actually did a bike race there, a stage race, and I just fell in love with the place. And after that, I've been following it a little bit. And a couple of years ago, I went to Iceland for 2 weeks in the summer. I pretty much visited all the grounds on Iceland. 2 years ago, I was back on the Faroe Islands as well and visited all the grounds there and seen some matches as well. So and then it's kind of just growing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I found the account. I was traveling with my brother through, not through all the Nordics, but we went to Iceland on a family trip. And we were there during the World Cup qualifiers. I pretty much told them, hey, like, we have to go to a qualifier. And so we went to see Iceland versus Croatia World Cup qualifiers in June of 2017.
Wow.
And that one, they won 1-0 in the 88th minute goal. And I think we couldn't even get into the stadium. We were on that little hill on where like all the fans who couldn't get in gathered, and like kids were up in trees and stuff. So I was just watching through a fence, but it was just such an amazing atmosphere. And I almost fell in love with just sports all over again at that match. Like something hit me at that match. And then 2 days later, we went and checked out Stjarnan.
Yeah.
And that was a great time because it was just such a small atmosphere, but everyone was so friendly. And I felt like I was just one of the guys supporting Stjarnan, even though I'd never even heard of them. And then a few days later, we went to the Faroes and we hit up an HB Torshavn match and checked out the national stadium and just kind of walked around. And so I absolutely loved it. And that's how I just fell in love with the account and have been following ever since. And I think you're right. The Nordics are just so beautiful, and the football culture there is just something so special because I just find it so intimate and just so communal. And so I was just wondering, do you have a specific stadium or club you love to see in the Nordics? Any specific derby matches that you love going to?
Yeah, I've been to some of them already, but obviously it would have been cool to actually to go to the Tórshavn derby on the Faroe Islands. There are two clubs that are sharing the stadium, so I think that's a good match. But the best derbies in the Nordics are the Danish ones and the Copenhagen derby, Brøndby versus FC Copenhagen. So I went there. And also you have fantastic matches in Sweden, in Stockholm, with AIK, Djurgården, and Hammarby. And we also have one good derby in Norway, which is Lillestrøm versus Vålerenga. Unfortunately, Lillestrøm got relegated last season, so there will not be a derby this year. But those are pretty much the biggest derbies, I think. And yeah, you have a good one also in the South Sweden with Helsingborg and Malmö. Yeah, I've been to most stadiums to say, taking pictures and so on. But I've not seen matches on all stadiums. So there are a lot of actually smaller stadiums up in the north that I would like to go to, and also miss a lot in Sweden so far. So I think I'm actually looking very forward to go to Malmö because I've not been there, and yeah, that's one of few big stadiums that I've not been to. So.
And if people check out NordicStadiums.com, there's also a drop-down section that has all of the constructions of new stadiums and how the new stadiums are progressing their construction. And some of the designs are just so fascinating and interesting, and they're so unique, especially the new planned national stadiums and renovations in Finland and the Faroe Islands and Iceland, and so many different club stadiums that are planning or have done different renovations. Are there any new stadiums that you're really looking forward to get to once they're finished and once the pandemic's over?
I think the Finnish national arena, the Olympia Stadium in Helsingfors in Helsinki would be nice. Obviously, that is an old stadium which is renovated, but I think it's got pretty good now. And the Finnish national team is also very good at the moment. They're actually qualified for the Euros, so it would be nice to go there, maybe for an international or something. And of the newer stadiums, I think you have like a club called Sirius, which is like in Uppsala, north of Stockholm. So they're totally renovated. They build the new stadium from the bottom at the same site as the old one, so it looks very good. So I think that one would be nice to see. In Norway, there are not so many new stadiums at the moment because we did a lot of work like 5-10 years ago. And but also in Tórshavn, the national arena there is fantastic. It's not so large. It's like I think like 6,000 people or something, but it's very intimate, like 2 tiers on every stands. And yeah, it would be great to go there maybe for the cup final or something.
Yeah, and you also travel outside of the Nordic countries for different matches. We actually have something in common. We've both been to the Hive, Barnet FC, this year.
Okay.
Back in November, I went to visit one of my buddies in London, and we went to different FA Cup matches. And so we checked out Barnet. And I wanted to just ask you what your experience at the Hive was like, because mine was very cold. I was in that little supporter stand right behind the net in that just metal box, and it was easily below freezing, and they were playing so bad, but it was just such a interesting atmosphere. It's nothing like I've ever been to because it was my first time ever in the UK. So how did you enjoy the Hive?
I think it was actually kind of special to be like an English arena. It's not very typical English. The stadium has like two very large stands and two very small stands, and it was pretty much like your experience. When we arrived there, it started like pouring down. So some of the guys got soaking wet before we went into the stadium, and it was like in February. It was pretty cold. It was blowing. We went there for a cup match. It was not the FA Cup. It was like a minor cup. And Barnet is like on the 5th tier, I think.
Yes, they have.
And they were like playing a team from the 7th tier. So like they were like huge favorites for this match, and it was a big match because it was like a quarterfinal, I think, and the final was supposed to be played at Wembley. So it was a lot of stake and a lot of pride, and obviously everybody wants to go to Wembley to support their team. So, but the away side won 2-1 after extra time. Barnet hardly had any singing supporters, which was very strange because it's very normal in England with a quite big fan base. But the visitors was fantastic. They have like 500 traveling fans or something. So
Yeah.
they were like running the show the whole match, and that's very unusual in England. So yeah, and but it is a very strange stadium because Barnet is playing there, and there's like a rugby team playing there, and it's like a women's football is playing there, and
Yeah, the women's team, the London Bees that play there. Actually, two women's team plays. Tottenham women's also play there, and it's funny, but it's also really interesting that the two women's team that play there, they're both in the top tier of women's soccer, and Barnet has just been struggling financially. They've dropped down to the 5th tier, and they're trying to work their way back up, and they're in this big, beautiful stadium. And when I was there, I was in the little supporters section for the home supporters. I was actually writing a paper for one of my classes about lower tier English football. And it's not like they've fallen from grace, but you can just tell they're struggling, and fans are annoyed. The players are frustrated. They were one of the first teams to really start furloughing employees during the pandemic. And it was like there's a part of me that's just kind of sad, and I felt like really bad because it was just a small, unique club. And when I was trying to interview different supporters for it, I thought it wouldn't be any issue because I'm a native English speaker in England. I could not understand a word what those people were saying, just the thick, like North London accents, but I could make out the anger and the curse words. So I got some great content for my paper, but Barnet will have a special place in my heart, and I really hope they can work their way back up. Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember a few years ago you went to the Copa Libertadores.
I had to, before you go further, I have to say that it was in Spain. It was in Madrid when they played there. They had to go over to Europe to play the final. It was River Plate against Boca Juniors. But it was a fantastic match. There was so much trouble that year in the South America, so they couldn't even play in Buenos Aires, the second leg. So it was moved to Madrid, and it was like, tens of thousands of people were traveling from South America over to Madrid. And those fans are so special.
Thank you for correcting me. I totally forgot they played that leg in Europe.
Yeah,
I totally forgot. I just remember seeing the Instagram post. I'm just like, wow, that's like the Copa Libertadores final. But I do find that interesting how they managed to bring that culture into that one stadium for that one match. That's really cool.
Yeah, because you could really feel that it was like a South American atmosphere. I've never been to South America yet. Obviously, I'm going there as soon as possible, but I've not been there yet. But it was something really, really special, which I've never imagined and ever experienced in Europe before.
Tell me the first thing that comes to your head when I say this name. Erling Haaland.
Yeah, Wonder Kid. The big name in Norway already, obviously. Big name in the world already. I remember his father very well because he was like playing for Leeds United and Manchester City in England. He was international for Norway, and he was like a big, not the biggest player, but he was a good player when I was growing up. So, but his son, what can I say? We saw that early in Norway that he had something special, obviously, but to progress that fast, nobody could have ever imagined that I think so.
After the pandemic is over, of course, being from the United States, I got to promote Major League Soccer and just say, feel free to come to North America and check out our stadiums. Are there any stadiums or matches in the US that have caught your attention that you'd be interested in visiting?
I think Portland. Is that with a chainsaw or something?
Yes. Yeah? Portland has a chainsaw and they cut a log anytime they score.
Yeah. And I think Atlanta looks cool.
The only Major League Soccer match I've been to was Seattle, and that was a really cool atmosphere as well.
Yeah.
And then I've also been to my local team, the New England Revolution, but they just play so far out of town in like the big American football stadium where the New England Patriots play. And as much as I want to promote the Revs, Terry, I'll tell you, if you're coming to North America, you can skip the Revs. Don't waste your time on the Revs until we finally get a stadium in downtown Boston. Don't waste your time. Definitely check out if you ever get a chance to visit North America for soccer matches. It's such an amazing atmosphere, but it is so different than the Scandinavian atmosphere. Like some ways similar, some ways different. I've just found the Scandinavian atmosphere so communal, and I think that's what I really love about it. It was also the reason I loved going to London for FA Cup matches, like AFC Wimbledon. I just felt really part of almost like a family, really communal.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, most places in the Nordics are small places. You have some cities, obviously, but myself, for instance, I'm from a city with like 20,000 inhabitants. I live in the capital, Oslo, now, but I know very well where I'm come from. So my local side there is called the FK Jerv, and they're playing like on the second tier in Norway. So we're very, very proud of the team. So it's like a 3 hours drive from Oslo. I have a season ticket there, but I don't go for so many matches. I have to be honest. But I try to see them if I'm home. But obviously, I watch them all the time when they are playing in the Oslo area. And that's so cool because then you always meet people from back home, people you know, maybe people you played with, brothers and sisters of people you know you played with. So it's like a very, very strong connection. And everybody's very, very proud of the football team because that's a lot of identity.
All right, Terry, before I let you go, we got to talk Faroe Island soccer because it is back. Week 1 in the books. I'll be honest with you. I saw the video where you break down your table predictions.
Yeah.
And as an HV Torshavn supporter, I have a little bit of a bone to pick. You picked B36, the rival club, to win it all. You picked HV to finish 4th. But I mean, I'm just gonna let my boy Adrian Justinson. I'll let those goals speak for himself. How about
that? Yeah. What can I say? I think I wrote it as well. It will be very close with the top 4, and then they're like a challenger, Vikinger, behind them. But last season was fantastic. It was like decided in the last match, and HB was also there all the way. A couple of rounds before the end or something, they had to let the others slip away. But they have a good player, HB Jakob Thomsen. They've got he's played on Iceland, but he's injured at the moment. So if they can get him back with Justiniusen as well, so then they have 2 good players. I think though my tips was good for the first round at least because B36 they got the victory in Klaksvik. They got their revenge. So
Klaksvik did not look good. I'm a little disappointed that my boy Darius Lewis isn't on Klaksvik anymore. He was the one American playing in the Faroes, a kid from South Florida who's in the Faroe Islands, just 2 completely different places. But like I say, but No, I'm so happy that it's back. Just to have a little bit of football in my life. We were following the Nicaraguan league because that's all that was on. But now that's over. It was a great final. But we got Faroe Islands soccer back. We got Bundesliga coming back.
Yeah.
I'm just excited as you are. But you're lucky. They've been broadcasting the Faroe Islands matches in Norway.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think Norwegian television broadcaster TV2, which is the biggest commercial TV station in Norway, they've actually bought the 12 first rounds of the Faroe Island League. So I think when they did that, they were not aware of the Bundesliga starting up that fast and all the other leagues starting up that fast. Because now they have to send like Faroe Island football until June, July. And then everybody, all other leagues will be playing as well. So, but it was a lot of interest last weekend when they were the only ones on.
Hey, you know what? Hey, good for the Faroes. They deserve the publicity. They deserve the plug. It's one of my favorite leagues.
Yeah.
Again, you can check out Nordic Stadiums on Instagram, nordicstadiums.com for the best stadium database for all your Nordic Stadium needs. You can check them out on YouTube. Terry, thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to have you again. Come back anytime you want.
Thanks a lot. Very nice to be here. Thanks.
That was fun. That's probably the most fun interview I've had. I mean, was Terry better than Bauer? I don't know. That is tough. But I will say this. I'm getting a little concerned because I really went after him about him picking B36 Torshvin to win the title. And 2 matches in, they're looking good. They haven't let up a goal yet. I'm a little concerned.
B36 covered.
All that being said, HP Torshvin still 2-0. I think if we're going to have a nice battle for the top of the table between B36 Torshvin, Runevic, Klasvik, and HP Torshvin. And also, Xander, Bundesliga is back. It was good to see some quality. So not the Nicaraguan league wasn't quality. That was fun. Great final by Esteli. And, of course, you not being here last week, we couldn't celebrate. That's on you. It was a little sad to see Schalke just get decimated by Dortmund. And it was weird because when you watch Dortmund versus Schalke, you watch because there's going to be flares going off and tifos and chanting. So it was creepy watching that match with no fans, not having the yellow wall. And just the echoes were a little, it got a bit of the heebie-jeebies. It was great to see Weston McKennie out there, even though he probably could have played a little better. My boy Gio Reyna on Dortmund got the start, the young American lad, first time ever in the starting lineup, and hurt himself during warmups. But yeah, Schalke lost 4-0, decimated. I felt kind of bad.
Did you know that Hazard, there are 3 of them?
I knew there was 2. I actually didn't know there was 3.
Well, I just thought there was 1, so I was really confused because I was like, I'm pretty sure he plays for Chelsea.
He plays for Real Madrid.
Yeah, I learned that too.
When was the last time you watched soccer?
Pre-COVID-19. It's been a while.
I mean, no. Eden Hazard's been on Madrid for a little bit now.
Yeah, who knew? I had no idea.
Everyone. Do you see why I was so happy last week with you just not there? Because I'm really looking for you to contribute a little bit because I'm trying to get back into the Bundesliga headspace. I was all over it. Also because I think there was a Stuttgart fan who was a regular at the Starbucks I worked at. I remember the first time I started working there, it was maybe like the 3rd customer I saw on my first day on the register, and I noticed his Stuttgart kit, and I was, oh, are you a Stuttgart fan? And I think he was from Germany. He goes, yes, and I'm like, oh, are you excited for the Bundesliga to start back up? Because this was back in the summer, and he just looks at me and goes, we got relegated last season.
Gonna have to call Comcast because I went back to look to be like, yeah, all these sports channels are included in the select package, but then you look and you realize that when you call them, they downgraded your account to save you money. Even though they said you wouldn't lose any sports channels and you were fine with not having the SEC network. You're like, okay, that's weird. But then you go for FS2 on a random Monday afternoon to watch some Bundesliga and you can't. Because they said they weren't going to take any sports channels away. And like, it'll save you money and you're not going to lose any of your sports channels. I was like, what am I going to lose? Like, these ones. I was like, I do like BBC World News because I like to think that I'm smarter than all you people. And I was
Are you done?
IFC and Destination America. I was like, okay, I can live without Always Sunny there because I got on Hulu, and I can live without Destination America because I don't care about real loggers of Alaska. Oh, no FS2.
Here's a topic I know you can help me with. Wrinkles the Clown.
Oh, underrated. I don't know how it's been rated. Great documentary. Flies under the radar because you see the ads and you're like, okay, this will be a nice, scary little afternoon. Awesome documentary.
Because I'll let the fans in a little bit. We're recording this at around 9 p.m. and I texted you at around 7 saying, do you want to record tonight? And you said yes, but first please watch this documentary. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. Just watch it. So I'm like, all right, I'll watch the documentary and then we'll record. And so I watched it, and good God, insane. It is insane how gullible people are. It is insane how stupid people are. It is insane how badly people want attention by just rehashing YouTube videos and posting those on YouTube. And I don't know what's real or faker anymore, but I have my thoughts. I have my opinions. But first, I want to hear your thoughts and your opinions about Wrinkles the Clown, the documentary on Hulu.
The first thing that slaps you in the face is these parents that don't want to slap their kids and would rather call a clown to terrorize them. I mean, that's the first thing that comes out.
I will say this about the parents not wanting to hit their kids and scare them. They had a Dr. Party Pooper, whatever his name was, from Southern Methodist, just straight up saying, no, like calling a clown to scare your kid saying he's going to come get you, that's child abuse. And I'm like, don't. This is like 5 minutes in the documentary. I'm like, is George going to ruin our fun the whole documentary? But that was the only time we saw him.
Here's a question. Is it any worse than mom threatening to call Mrs. Claus?
I don't know, because for those of you who don't know, my brother over here was a little shit growing up, and our mom would pretend to call Mrs. Claus saying, make some edits to the list and move that over to the naughty list or spreadsheet, whatever they have going up at the North Pole at this point.
An Excel doc.
You think it'd be an Excel doc, right? They're not using pen and paper. Or like, there's no way old St. Nick is using the Dewey Decimal System. What was I talking about? Clowns. Okay. I don't know if it's any worse than Mom Called Mrs. Claus. Well, I guess Mrs. Claus wasn't very viral. Like, I wouldn't go online just be like Mrs. Claus hiding in the bushes. Like, there was a legend in folk. Maybe it'd be like Krampus.
Speaking of going viral, that was the other thing that this documentary taught me, is that there is no freaking way my kid is accessing the internet before the age of 15.
Well, I'm going to stop right there, because have you seen the show The Act on Hulu?
No.
With based on a true story where Patricia Arquette pretty much portrays her daughter as this girl who is like totally paralyzed and gets all this like money from fundraising and whatever. Like, her name was Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And so Patricia Arquette's character, the mom, who I think she won an Emmy for that, totally creepy, but she like kept her away from the internet. And so this girl had like never even seen the outside world, but this girl gets access to the internet and she has no idea like what it is and what the possibilities are. And that's when shit starts to hit the fan. So if your kid doesn't access the internet from an early age, I feel like you're just opening a window of bad things. It's like when you say, well, my kid's not going to have a drop of alcohol until they're 21 because that's the law. And then they get to college and then they get fucked up.
Do they have like YouTube safe channels? Because here's my thought. Because I was watching these kids call this clown, right, who they thought was a creepy clown.
Yeah.
My initial thought was, let me think of the crank calls that I did on my cell phone when I first got my cell phone. And that was 1-800-54 Giant, and like pizza places that I looked up in a phone book.
Okay.
These kids are going out there and calling what they think is a creepy clown. So I can only imagine how horrible this could end for my child calling, and then there's caller ID, and I can track that back. Like, they're playing pajama Sam and backyard baseball and nothing else on an old compact USA computer.
What about Club Penguin? Because I told you very early on. By the way, I think they're finally shutting down Club Penguin. You know, it was nice while it lasted, but I told you those mature servers, a horrible place to be. It's awful. It was very dark people. If you want to know, are my kids going to access the internet? That would be impossible because no way I'm having kids, and especially after watching this. Good God, I don't want kids. I don't want that burden of responsibility.
Could you imagine being the dad that has to like be okay with his kid becoming a clown?
I mean, it wasn't even that. It was like,
We want to
okay,
dive into that kid.
I will dive into that kid in a second. But what I'm saying is that out of all the responsibilities as a parent, feeding them, putting a roof over their head, keeping them alive, bringing them to school, make sure they have an education, are healthy and active. Out of all the things I have to worry about, one of the things I have to worry about is, are they watching creepy clown videos on YouTube and they're going to call a dude? Like, there's just too much.
Yeah, you want to dive into that kid? Wait, which kid do you want to dive in
I want to
first?
dive in.
The Honey Boo Boo kid that forcingly put her rabbit on its back when it clearly didn't want to be like that?
Sure, we'll dive into her first because I forget her name, but she was from the town of.
Just call her Honey Boo Boo.
This girl literally was Honey Boo Boo. It was the town of Enigma, Georgia. And the first, when they do the little B-roll of the shots of the town, it was a cattle farm. I'm thinking, okay, probably a small southern Georgian town. And then boom, just huge Confederate flag. Like, those giant American flags they have on the highway next to the McDonald's and the Gulf Station? Just that, but the Confederacy. I was like, good God. So I, of course, instinctively Google mapped the place. And it's bad when a town of 2,000 people in Georgia is closer to Tallahassee, Florida than it is to Atlanta. Honestly,
Can we just, as you make fun of the South, you are wearing a Waffle House shirt.
I am wearing a Waffle House shirt. I'm not making fun of the South. I am just giving my observations, and I love Waffle House. Waffle House is amazing. I've had some of my most fond life memories at Waffle House. It's my happy place. We once went to a Waffle House in Greenville, South Carolina, which was right in the same area as those alleged creepy clown sightings in Greenville, which were brought up in the documentary. And I was very excited when I saw that. 'Cause I'm like, I remember this. I remember being senior in high school, seeing that on the news, and seeing where these sightings were. And I'm like, I have been there. I know where that forest is. We drove near there because we got lost trying to find this Waffle House in Greenville, South Carolina at like 1 a.m. And we're on the topic of Greenville. I'm just going to say this right now. Greenville, South Carolina, infinite times better than Greenville, North Carolina.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that.
If we're going to make enemies on the show, Greenville, North Carolina, fine. Be an enemy.
Furman cut baseball, though, today.
No Paladin baseball?
No Paladin baseball or lacrosse?
What were we saying? Clowns. Okay.
Kids that like clowns.
Yes, kids that like clowns. There was the really large kid from Wichita Falls, Texas, whose mom said, quote, people come up to me and say he could play for the Dallas Cowboys. But
he's
no,
gonna be 6'5".
But no, this is who he is. He wants to be a filmmaker. Mom, let me tell you something. Your kid's better off being a filmmaker than he is being a cowboy. Because while he might not make as much money as he would be, at least he'll still have some dignity. That kid, he was just describing his nightmares and how he would fill the closet with boxes so nothing could possibly be hiding in the closet, which is something you would do because you are such a scaredy cat with different Criminal Minds and CSI episodes.
As they flashed to him and they were filling, and he was talking about filling up underneath his bed, I was like, I can relate to that because I would have these giant plastic boxes and I would make sure they were already under the bed, but I'd make sure that they're in such a way that they were kind of casing the whole bed around because of a CSI character, Squeagle, that we are not to talk about.
Well, I'll just say this. Let me tell you, Squeagle would have fit in one of those boxes. And you know that. But back to these freaking insane kids. I want to dive in to Lubbock, Texas. I don't remember this kid's name, but he said, and I quote, "Yeah, I just decided I was going to call some clowns and creepy clowns to see what happened." Leave it to a kid in Lubbock, Texas to call clowns because he wanted to see what happens. Because I've been to that godforsaken city. And let me tell you something. Calling clowns is probably the second most entertaining thing to do in Lubbock, Texas, right behind watching Texas Tech go 6-6. And no wonder that kid's obsessed with clowns. The Red Raider football program has been a clown show for years. This kid's dad was just, yeah, he likes clowns. I couldn't, I was just, couldn't really keep track what I was watching on YouTube. Take the iPad away, Dad. Jesus Christ. Like, do you see I don't want to spoil too much, but let's just say there were drawings.
Was this is the kid with the mask on?
Yes.
I didn't know he was from Texas. I thought he was like from New York. His dad kept on wearing Mets things. One really nice production thing they did.
He went to Lubbock.
The thing that I loved about the production is that when the dad was talking about these are just his interests, that they purposely had a baseball game going on in the background on the TV.
I didn't even notice that.
Oh, yeah, because a normal person would be watching the game on TV. And this kid is making drawings that say, die or die.
Well, hang on. Let's not
No.
portray something as normal and not normal. I mean, would you say that the guy they had on in the documentary interviewing, his occupation was a folklorist? Would you say that's not a normal occupation?
I have no comment on the folklorist.
I kind of want him on.
Yeah, I did kind of want him on too. So I couldn't make any comments on the folklorist.
Okay, we're not going to talk about the folklorist? I don't know where to enunciate the or. Folklorist.
That kid's mask was ridiculous. I can't get over that.
It was a good mask. I'll give him props.
It was a good mask, but come on, Dad. What are the parents doing? Jesus. We're going to get ridiculed by parents that are like, well, your parents had to keep up with your fads.
Waffle House is not a fad. Waffle House is not a fad. Waffle House is a lifestyle. I don't know if Mom understands that, but at least Dad does. What were we talking about? Clowns. Yeah, no, that was a great documentary. So as I was watching this, I kind of thought, because I'm horrified of clowns. I'm actually generally terrified of clowns.
Genuinely.
What did I say?
Generally.
I would say I'm genuinely afraid of clowns in general, because what we've learned is there are happy clowns and scary clowns. Well, because one of the clowns they had on was, oh my God, what was that dude's name? Funky the Clown. And Funky the Clown promoted positivity and being a happy clown.
Was that Happy the Clown?
No, he was a happy clown, but his name was Funky the Clown. He might also be funky as well. I'd assume he'd have a little funk to him. But Funky the Clown is a happy clown among other adjectives. But Funky the Clown, I think, scared me more than Wrinkles. But he made a mean balloon animal. I'll give him that.
What did he yell when he threw the thing?
Pictured in my mind the scene where he makes a balloon animal and goes, "Why are clowns happy? It should be about that." He throws a balloon animal at the camera and goes 3D. And I don't know why I find that so funny.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay. I've gathered myself again.
What are we talking about? Clowns.
Which means I can dive into my top 5 favorite clowns. Because while I might be terrified of clowns, I still respect them. And I have favorites. Number 5, the Joker, played by Joaquin Phoenix.
Is that the Why So Serious Joker?
No. That is number 4, the Joker, played by Heath Ledger. Number 3, that sad clown painting in our grandparents' basement that I still don't understand why it was down there, and I honestly don't want to know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go retrieve that and just put it in your room one day.
I'd rather have Wrinkles the Clown show up at my doorstep than have that painting in my room. Number 2, Twisty the Clown from American Horror Story Freak Show. Love Twisty. And you know what? He was just misunderstood.
Totally misunderstood.
Love him. All right. All right, you know what? I'll let you guess. Who do you think my number 1 favorite clown is?
Baskets the Clown.
That's a good guess. As much
How
as I
does
love
Baskets the Clown? You just forgot about Baskets.
I did not forget about
You
Baskets.
totally forgot about Baskets.
I did not forget about Baskets.
Yes, you did.
I did not forget about Baskets. He's not my number 1. He didn't crack my top 5.
Oh, he's a rodeo clown. He's a delight.
I'll be honest. I liked season 1 and 2 of Baskets, but it just didn't draw me in for those last few seasons, and I kind of stopped watching after season 2. And honestly, I thought it was Louis Anderson who made the show so great. But my number 1 favorite clown is Baker Mayfield. I'm Pete Sippis. This has been Sip Talk. Thanks for listening.